And then lastly, Jason, what skills or experience do you have that will aid you in solving these problems? What ideas do you have to stop the revolving door of hire, train, quit that currently plagues Florida prisons?
Don't really need 3 minutes to say this. It's the very first thing we have got to do is increase pay. If you do not increase pay, at least to the level of the state troopers, we're going to be talking about this in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, if not worse. We immediately must increase the pay. The starting pay, we must institute a step pay system similar to the way the military does. So every 2 years you get a 3% raise for time in. And instead of 30 years, in this scenario, you guys are extreme law enforcement. It's not just law enforcement because you're doing the duties of law enforcement inside the prison, but you're also protecting us from the worst of the worst. So it's an extreme situation. We need, in my opinion, to reduce the time into 20 an hour. We need to increase the entry pay to at least the same as the state troopers, if not more. And we've got to reduce the rules and regulation that have come on you guys and girls recently. It shouldn't take 30 minutes to subdue an inmate that's lost their mind. Going through a checklist and the bureaucracy, it's ridiculous. You've got somebody kicking and screaming and raising Cain, and you've got to sit there and go through some bureaucrat's checklist. It just shouldn't be that way. So these are all things that I would immediately begin to work on. We've got to take the prison back over from the inmates. It seems that they have taken control, and those are the things that I pledge that I will fight for.
Thank you. Question number 3, a little background. There's a feeling among corrections officers that their needs are placed behind the needs of every other priority in Florida, including those of the felony offenders they supervise. While spending on inmates, facilities, and vehicles have increased, CO pay has been virtually flat for a decade. If you include the 3% reduction in pay that was taken to help pay for the FRS, many of them have seen their paychecks actually shrink. So here's the question. Given these facts, how would you respond to COs who feel that they are not a priority to the legislature? Ms. Beth.
Thank you. The first thing you need to do is give them a voice, and you need to be their voice in the legislature. And I'm actually liking what I'm hearing up here with the exception of when you're talking about a COLA, it shouldn't be every other year. It should be a yearly COLA. I mean, our costs go up yearly. They don't go up every other year, so there should be a yearly COLA. And it's not just about money. It's not just about money, folks. It is partially about money. It is about, it's a life issue. It's how you're treated. It's how you're able to be treated by your inmates. It's how you're treated by the general public. And this needs to stop. And there needs to be this wonderful level of respectability in the career because it is a very respectable. It is law enforcement. And we need to start treating it like law enforcement. How are we going to do that? We're going to get up there, I'm going to get up there and give a voice to this issue because it's not being given a voice. It's not being heard. And that is the most important thing, that we are a house of representatives. We are a representative form of government. So I represent you, whatever that issue is. And this is a key issue because this is a quality of life issue wrapped into a funding issue. It's a total quality of life issue. And we know I'm all about life. So this is definitely a life issue. And again, like I stated before, I'll say it again, give them a voice. And I will tell you, a lot of people don't realize a lot of legislation, a lot of it's not happening is because those that pass laws are fearful of lawsuits. A lot of the laws and what you're seeing now as far as the hands-off of the prisoners, this is because, a lot of it's because of the ACLU. The American Civil Liberties Union will come in and they will sue for the rights of the prisoner. They will sue for the rights of the inmates, and they will look for reasons to sue, but they will not be there to protect the rights of the officer who's putting his life on the line every single day. So yes, we need to take a good look at this, and I'll tell you something, it's all about having a voice, it's all about having that advocate, and that's me, I will be that advocate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Watkins.
Are we next to you and him? Aren't you second? I think it's, you already.
Oh, you have to go.
Okay.
Given these facts, how would you respond to COs who feel that they're not a priority to the legislature?
Well, I have to agree with it. It seems that way, looking at it in the past, and it's not, I don't believe for 1 second that the legislature has any ill will, but I just believe that, as your question is, it hasn't been a priority, and that has to be. House District 7 is the only district that has 9 prisons in it. 9 prisons. That immediately will give me a seat at the table with the other reps, and we will, I guess it goes into part of the question or answer in another section, but I believe firmly that we should be coming around every House rep that sits on the Department of Corrections committee, subcommittee, should be coming around at least once a month, if not even more, and make it random. Don't make it an announced stop. You stop by random, you check it out, and that way they can see with their own eyes exactly what the results are of the legislation and the leadership that we've seen in the past. I think that if we do that, you've got reasonable folks, and we can get a lot more done. That would be one of the first things we've got to do, is make everyone understand here at Gulf Correction. Come out and see what's going on, and see for yourself exactly what each correctional officer is having to deal with on a daily basis. I can't help but believe that they would all understand better why I'm so passionate about it.
Thank you. Mr. Watkins, given these facts, how would you respond to COs who feel that they are not a priority to the legislature?
I think I've been very clear. Law and order is a conservative principle. It's a Republican principle. And for so long, we've had the majority in the House and the Senate and the governor's office, and the corrections has been neglected. For some reason, we've abandoned state employees whenever we have great state employees. We have held up our state troopers and our sheriff's deputies, but we have not held up corrections. So I think it's about winning hearts and minds. And the first thing we need to do is say law and order does not exist without corrections. It's part and parcel. So this is, the good news is this is a Republican seat. It's a Republican primary. So I think we need to get on board. We're having this forum for the first time that I'm aware of in the state that's correction specific. So we're talking about the right issues. Now we need a representative that's strong enough to go downtown and to be able to fight for you, that understands the issues. And I want to just briefly mention, if you think it's not going in the wrong direction, look at what happened at Liberty CI just recently by one of our own officers. And then, of course, I couldn't mention that without saying yesterday's tragedy in Liberty County. They've had a bait of it, so our hearts go out to Liberty County. And I would just like to say quickly that this career laddering that I gave to you as a concept, it doesn't have all the details in it, but the ability to have an opportunity for professionals to grow within the department. So that's not just a CEO to a sergeant to a lieutenant and so on, but that you can have potentially an officer 1 and 2, that you can have a senior officer, or that you can have a master officer, that you could grow into that position, take those skills with you, that be evaluated not only by your supervisor, but by your peers. I think that's a great way for people to grow in their profession, is to have that peer evaluation that is performance-based and is tied to your time in the position. We have a compression of salary in the Department of Corrections, I don't have to tell you that, where we have sergeants that have 1 year's experience making almost the same thing as a sergeant has 24 years experience. It's unbelievable that the salary has been compressed that way. That's why we need a career ladder or a step plan with some automatic steps in there that people can grow to aspire to, so that they want to stay in the Department of Corrections and they can build that pride and have that fraternity. I was raised by a law enforcement officer, and he was also a Marine. And the thing that happens in difficult working environments that make it possible and successful is that there's a fraternity. You get that strong fraternity. And the Department of Corrections has a long history of having that strong fraternity, but we're losing it, and we're losing it quickly. And that's why I think that we're in a crisis and we have to do something now.